Imagine celebrating your 52nd birthday while being diagnosed with young onset dementia. That's the reality for my guest this evening. Richard Jameson also watched his father go through that very same diagnosis at the age of 49. Richard is painfully aware of what is happening to him and, while he still can, wants to share his story to raise awareness. And I'm honored to help him do that this evening. Welcome to Richard and his lovely daughter, Alex. Thank you both so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I know this is a hard day for you, you said, so I'm going to say that right off the top. So take your time.
Thank you.
Tell me about the first symptoms that you had that first led to the diagnosis.
Well, one thing about dementia for all people, and particularly young onset, is that it can be really, what the doctors say, is insidious. So it kind of sneaks up on you over sometimes a long period of time. But for me, some of the first things that now looking back, we noticed was things like I'm the president of a homeowners association. I had to go drop off checks to the BMO bank downtown Charlottetown. And this was last year. And I parked the truck and got out and grabbed my BMO deposit book and looked across the street at the bank. And it was the Scotia Bank that I looked at. And I said to myself, isn't it strange that the BMO has the Scotiabank sign across the top of the building? So I then thought, oh well, whatever, and I proceeded to walk into the Scotiabank, believing in my mind it was the BMO, and waited in line until the teller said you're in the wrong bank, which then we had a good laugh over, and then I left. But that was probably one of the first ones. And then I started having a hard time working with my chainsaw in the woods, which I've been doing for decades, and not being able to fix it anymore. One of the other memories we had was calling my wife at noon at her work, panicked that we hadn't walked our dogs that morning, and that they were going to have an accident in the house. And she, said, "What are you talking about? We walked them at about 8 o'clock this morning." And then that stuff just started to keep happening more and more.
And because your dad was diagnosed at 49, were you looking for signs? Like, did you have any expectation that this could happen to me?
I mean, it was always in the back of your mind, always in the back of my mind. And I have a sister, and, we both always thought about it. But at the same time, for the most part, just, continued to live our lives. And I mean, you can't live every day wondering if something is going to happen like that. Yeah. So not really. It was always back there, but we just didn't know if it would happen or not.
And Alex, what about you? How are you coping with all of this?
It's a big question,
Yeah,
I guess.
it is.
But I recently moved home in November. I was away out west, and I came home because of this, and it's been awesome to spend time with my dad. It's obviously devastating, and it's good days and bad days, but I'm really enjoying spending one-on-one time with him and hanging out with him. And really, I'm honored to be home with him and do this together as a family. Like my dad said, we went through it before with Grampy, and that was hard on everybody.
Yeah.
But we got through it, and everybody's a pretty solid unit in our family, and I think we're doing what we know how to do best, and that's just stick together and do this stuff.
Yeah, and love each other and
Yeah.
support each other. So when you say, we off the top, you said I'm having a hard day, I'm having a bad day. In your world, what is a hard day and what's a good day?
Some days, to be honest with you, I'm not really sure anymore. It's progressed far enough that it's hard to tell. But on a hard day, I have a hard time concentrating with anything. And if I'm in a group of people or somewhere I'm not comfortable with, I'll have a hard time talking.
Right.
And I was a writer and marketer for a living, and that was always my strong suit. But otherwise, there's lots of emotional like right now, I'm very emotional, and I often swing from being upset and crying to being angry and 1 minute apathetic and not caring, and the next overly emotional and too caring, and it can be awkward, which we saw with my father.
Right.
I remember the last trip we took with him to Disney World, and before he could travel anymore, and like he was, trying to hug the characters, and he was 55 years old at that time.
Yeah.
So it's hard to explain. It's just very complex.
So a real roller coaster of emotions. And Alex, are you able, as a family member, to see that as the disease and not your dad? Are you able to separate those two things?
Yeah, I think so. Of course. I think growing up with it with my grandfather, I saw it in a different light, and now with my dad, it's always my dad. And I think with my background in healthcare, I've seen people with dementia, and I've have a real close connection I felt to them over the years because of my grandfather, and I knew how to deal with them. So on bad days, we just swing with it, and we give space whenever we need it, and we roll with it. We change plans whenever we need to. We leave grocery stores whenever it's not working, and we stay home. We go sit on the deck and have a relaxing, quiet afternoon, and just try to keep it low key. So. Yeah, but I absolutely can differentiate my dad from the disease. Absolutely. It's still my dad.
Yeah. Richard, you write that memory loss is actually the least of your problems. And I think that a lot of people think would be the biggest thing is the memory loss. What are maybe some of the lesser known symptoms and challenges that you want people to know about? I mean, you mentioned the emotions. What else would you like people to know about?
Well, there's, with dementia in general, no matter what age you are, but certainly with young onset. And just to be clear, there's 100 different types of dementia, so Alzheimer's is one. But depending on the dementia you have, and I have to read some of these things.
That's okay.
Because I can't remember, but things like significant personality changes, uncontrollable anger and apathy, inappropriate behavior, severe short-term memory losses, sometimes even within minutes. Difficulty speaking, spatial awareness is one. I can't drive anymore because I started having some pretty close accidents. And I used to have a Class 1 driver's license without any accidents. So your depth perception can get skewed. Balance issues, sensitivity to noise and light. Some people have hallucinations or distorted realities where one day I walked into the house and I asked my wife, "When did you paint the walls?" They're blue. They weren't blue. So that type of thing. Trouble with sight and hearing. It really can impact almost every sense that you have, your emotions, physically, everything.
Do you feel angry that this is happening? Both of you, I'll ask you both that. Do you feel angry that this is happening to your dad?
Yeah, I think there's a certain amount of anger and frustration, and it was like that with Grampy too. He was like one of the biggest personalities, I think, and I remember that even from a young age. I think a quote was, "Before there was Google, there was Howie."
And lots of people on the island would remember your dad, Howie
Yes.
Jameson, right? So.
Yes, they do. And so absolutely, there is a sense of frustration and anger towards it, for sure.
It's not fair.
Yeah.
Do you feel that? Not fair?
Yeah, I don't know. I hear that a lot in dementia support groups, and I'm not really angry about it. I'm more, maybe this is my marketing brain, but it's more for me, it is what it is, and now I'm going to try to let as many people in the world know what it's not, because everyone thinks it's just memory problems.
Yeah.
And they all think that it's usually elderly people, but there's about 3.9 million people in the world with young onset dementia. So
You're just 52. I mean, you and I are the exact same age. Are there enough supports for people your age who are going through this?
Yeah, I mean, here in Prince Edward Island, we, have organizations like the Alzheimer's Society, and they're great support for not only the people with dementia, but the families There's caregiver support groups, family support groups. There is a young onset dementia support group.
Here on PEI?
There is,
Okay.
yeah. Now, I'm by far the youngest in that group, but if there's anyone with young onset dementia on the island not getting support, know that that group exists. I almost didn't stay in that group because of the age difference, but then after a few times going, it felt quite comfortable, and we do share some of the same, even the older folks and myself, and in between share some of the same things. So that organization is great. There's some great doctors here that I've seen, and I've seen doctors in other provinces. So yes, there is support, but the problem is that dementia, in particular young onset dementia, doesn't get the recognition it deserves because people, again, think it's usually very elderly people and it's just about memory.
Right.
When in fact it's so much more. It's as, people don't know, for example, that young onset dementia has a life expectancy of between 6 to 12 years. It is a terminal illness and there is no cure. There's some research for Alzheimer's that's promising, but for the other types, the one like Bruce Willis has frontal temporal dementia. Robin Williams, who everyone loved, had Lewy body dementia, and he died from that at 63, and he went through hell living that disease, and people had a wrong idea about what happened to him. There is no cure or no treatment for any of those dementias, so there needs to be more funding and support.
You talk about your children, your daughter's here with us, and you worry about them potentially facing that same fate. Do you fear that, Alex?
Yeah, we Dad got genetic testing done back in February, but we realized that genetic testing isn't the be-all, end-all. It's not going to usually give you answers. It's like finding a needle in a haystack, but even worse. The genetics are so complex and so hard to understand that it's hard to find. So for me, I don't know what it looks like. It's obviously concerning that it's coming down through the generations.
Would you want to know?
Probably, yeah. I think I would want to know for planning. But whether I do follow through with that or not, I don't know. But yeah.
If you could leave one message for Canadians, policymakers, healthcare professionals, and families that are affected by dementia, particularly young onset dementia, what would you want them to understand, Richard, before it's too late? While you can speak, while you can say this in your own words, what do you want people to know?
Well, first I want to be clear. Most people are not going to suddenly have dementia. You can get dementia many ways, and in our case, it's likely inherited. My grandmother also had it very young, my father's mother. But I don't want people to be afraid that they're suddenly going to get dementia. That's not what my intent is. I don't want to make people afraid of that. But my point the word I want to get out to people is that, again, that it's not just older people, and that it's not just memory. Like, this disease destroys families. Like, it really does. Like, financially, it destroys families. Tears people apart as they fight over care and life decisions for their loved one. So many of those things like that. And then, the people in the family have to, lose the person that they love, but then still care for the body that remains, like for years sometimes, like we did with my father. So I guess the point is that, it's terminal. It's just as serious as every other terminal illness is out there, but people don't give it the same attention, the same understanding, the same respect. And I think because of that, it doesn't get probably as much funding as it should get. And that's really the message that I wanted to make sure that everybody hears. And people at home, if you want to really see what it looks like, there's a little 6-minute film that a UK-based nonprofit organization called Younger People with Dementia, they made a little film called Little Rock, Dementia Doesn't Care. So go on your YouTube, look up Little Rock, Dementia Doesn't Care. It's only 6 minutes. It's the story of a 50-something-year-old man who was a concert pianist who got dementia. And it's the story of his teenage daughter living through that. And it will probably shock you and open your eyes quite a bit.
I did watch that. I'm tearing up thinking about it because it is really, really, really powerful. What would you like people to know?
Geez, probably so much, but I think we covered a lot today in the sense that it isn't just forgetting your keys.
Yeah.
You know, it isn't something just random. And like my dad said, it's very insidious. It's little things. It's personality changes. It's your balance. It's your everyday life. It's your brain fighting to try to be the same, and it can't anymore. It's trying and it can't. But I think a good thing is to go online and support the Alzheimer's Society and do your research and look into this stuff, because it's on the rise in dementia. And it's on PEI itself, it's going to be up 138% by 2050 is what the Alzheimer's Society predicts. So it can happen to anybody in your life, and your friends, your family, anybody you know, the people you work with. It can happen to anybody, and it does deserve the recognition and the support and the funding and the research that it deserves it, because it's not, nobody's immune to it.
Yeah.
And don't ever talk to someone with dementia and say, "Are you sure you're just not stressed?" Because I hear that all the time.
Yes. Or eat this or do that.
Or, yeah, eat better or go to the gym and it will be all good, because that's just not the truth.
Yeah.
Just not the truth.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for speaking your truth to here tonight. It was a real honor to speak to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you for telling your story, and I'm sure it's going to help a lot of people out there. So thank you.
Thank you for having
very
us.
much.